the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
I'm going to turn attention today to lighting up the throne, if not the rings, at least the throne. And I want to give a little primer, little lesson in lighting products, lighting techniques, and what is good and what is not so good. Okay, here's a little short course in the alternatives I have for lighting up these rings. I'm going to kill the overhead light so that you can see the effect a little bit better. First thought was to go with this electroluminescent or EL wire, and you can see I've got it clamped down to the ring to show you the shape, but you can see how wimpy and frankly pathetic that is. And if I didn't have the lights on, you wouldn't even be able to see that much. This was running on a 3-volt system with a battery. Now, maybe other things could be done to beef that up. Maybe 3 volts on a wall wart might give it a steadier voltage. I'm only working with the stone knives and bear skins that I've got here, so that's my excuse. Now, as wimpy and as pathetic as that EL wire is, it does one thing that even the best and brightest strip lighting can't do, which is to give me the correct orientation. Anything that is a strip light, and here I'll show you this example, plug it in nice and bright here. This is cob lighting, and as nice and as brilliant as that is, it's got a back on it, which means I can bend it this way, I can bend it this way. I cannot bend it this way. I'm purposely kinking it. I can't bend it that way because it just won't go. This is the same problem we've run into a million times before. On the Oblivion drone, I needed a light that went around, so I used a ring light because the LEDs are pointing in the right direction. And all strip lighting has this in common. It's got a front and a back. And you can't fight that. You can't make it go around in an angle that it's not meant to go. If I were wrapping it this way, absolutely, I would have used this in a heartbeat. And if you're thinking of putting it on the inside of a ring, yes, you could do that and light it this way if you wanted to glue it to the inside of the ring facing in or out. You could do that. That's why this doesn't work, and by extension, all strip lighting. Now, that leaves us to the last and most funky thing on the planet right now, which is this flexible cob filament. This is what they call the filament that's inside those Edison bulbs. You can get it in a couple different colors. This runs on 3 volts. Let me see. This particular one is blue. Once I get it to work, as you can see, it can. See, it's blue. It can light. It can light in the direction I want it to light, because I can glue it down, or otherwise, stick it down to. I need a socket for this. Come on. I can otherwise stick it to the face of these rings and make it work. Now, the problem with these is the length. Strip lighting, cob lighting, even EL wire, you can cut to the length you need. This you cannot. It comes in preset lengths. Now, if it's too long, you're out of luck. You got to double it up because, like I said, you can't cut that. You can add them together. If you add them together and solder them together, and this is 3 volts, but you could treat it like a 9 volt and put a resistor on one end and it will still work. But if you add them together in lengths like this, say this is 3 volt lengths, why then you can make a 9-volt length out of it. And see if I can get the camera turned around to where you can fully appreciate it. This is 9 volts on a battery here, but it's 3 lengths of this soldered together. You will get a break in the luminescence where the joint is. There's no real way to overlap those. You could then put 3 lengths on a ring. See how well that fits. Like I said, there are a couple 3 predetermined lengths of this that you can buy, and this is what I have on order. I have the warm white on order that is, or maybe hopefully it's a cool white on order, that is a 6-inch piece, I'm sorry, an 11-inch piece and a 6-inch piece. Hopefully that will be enough, but it'll probably still have, I'll probably still end up with a dead spot in the back of the ring where the light doesn't go the whole way around. That may be unavoidable, but I can attach it to a ring that way. And that's, until somebody shows me a better solution, that's the way it's going to have to be. So at this point, I am in a waiting game for that flexible filament to somehow arrive. Okay, kids, welcome back. It is Thursday, the gateway to the weekend, and we are finally, I say, getting to lighting the chair at least. Even here's my thoughts about the rest of it. I don't think I'm going to be getting that flexible filament. Certainly not today. Probably not tomorrow. Not into this week. So what I'm going to do is suspend the build after the 2 weeks, just as it is, and then go off and do something else starting next week. And then when those flexible filaments come in, I will do a third chapter of the Maria build, obviously, but I'm not going to hold up for that. But I can go ahead and start putting these in. Now these, I did not light up the first time around, and I thought that was, it was an okay. I've seen people do it, and it turned out great, and I kind of went back and kicked myself, but I had little spotlights on the first one, and I thought that was enough. But now, having this second chance, as it were, I've decided to go ahead and, yes indeed, light up all of these little stands. And what I'm using are these ice blue chip lights from Evans. And they are, like I say, they operate in that middle range between a blue LED and a cool white LED. So they're not quite as blue as, well, I'm not going to keep belaboring the point. They're not quite as blue as the standard blue LEDs. They're more of an icy blue, so that's why they call them icy blue. Trying to hold them in my fingers, and there we go. Okay, now you can see it. And these are going to look nice inside of here and provide just a wee bit of excitement to these feet. Now, the feet are designed in such a way that they stick to the bottom of the throne here. Now, I'm not too worried about all this. You're not going to see it by the time you add it to the base. You're not going to see up underneath that. But I'm hoping that with this glossy black that I've got going on, that I can get some nice reflections off of that. So what I'd like to do is first cut these tops of these off and off the sprue, clean them up and glue them to that. And then what we'll end up doing is cutting that little thing off of there and gluing down the chip light, and we'll have to cut a channel in them so that they don't pinch that wire. So I'm just looking at seeing what needs to be adapted here. And I think what I can do is I can get pretty destructive with these as long as I hide that towards the inside. Now this is the inside, obviously, so I can cut a channel right in there, and just as long as that, like I said, all goes to the inside, we'll be good. And then the wiring will come down into the base and all coalesce in here with these other ones, and then we will be able to send the power out through the jack right there. So once I get the first one figured out, the rest should go pretty smoothly. Okay, here is the first test, and knowing that we've got that working, I just have to repeat this 5 more times. It always goes quicker after the first one, but that's because that's where you're doing all your troubleshooting. And then if you can remember what you did, which is the tricky part, and then it's easy to duplicate that. Now, my biggest issue at this point is how do I route these wires? I'm going to route these ones that are easy. I can go straight into the corners, but these ones that are further back, I've got to kind of hide those and maybe paint over them and sneak them in the back way there. Okay, that's giving me a nice little reflection. I'm digging that. So it even looks better on camera, I think, than in real life, but that's going to be quite impressive when I get the other 5 done. Alrighty, I've got the 6 lights on the air. There are 6 lights! I got 6 lights on the bottom of this chair, and I like them. I like them fine. I think they're going to do just wonderfully. Now I need to put these bottom caps on each of the pedestals here, and I just need to go through the pieces that I've got, I got to cut a little notch in it. I have to cut this little notch in here to go over top of the wire as it's sticking out, to make sure that it's going to fit. I'm just checking this to make sure it's fitting on all of these, and the reason I'm doing that is because I also have to grind down that little post that's in the center there, and I'm just making sure that if I did this one right, that it's going to work everywhere, then I can go do the same thing to the other ones. Okay, I've got all of the other 5 lights done. Put the battery up to it so you can see for yourself. Now the next step would be to add the other platform to it, but I think what I need to do first is to put the lights in that platform, because from doing this I realized there's a lot of manhandling and pushing things around and making them work, and I'd rather not do that while this chair is attached. So this would be a fairly simple thing to push the whole wires through the hole and glue it down after it's done, but I need to go ahead and do what I did here up on here. Ho, friends and neighbors, it's Friday. It's the last work day of the week, the last work day for the time being on this seated Maria figure, because as I've droned on and on ad nauseum before, the lighting for the rings is not going to make it here this week. It's still on a boat from China, so who knows how long it will take to get here, actually. So what I'm going to do is finish what I've got, do everything but the rings, set it up with the 3 characters together, call it done for the time being, and then, when the day comes that I finally get that lighting, I'll come back and do a special edition, as you will. I'll do the George Lucas special edition when I go back and add special effects to this, because I've got a lot to do yet today. I've got to finish wiring up the lights in the base, and then I've got to get Maria. I have to have her glued to the chair, and I'm realizing how difficult that's going to be, because really at no point outside of the bottom of her feet does she actually touch any part of the chair. Her arms don't touch. There's a little bit of the back of her shoulders that touch the back of the chair. That's going to be the only way I have to secure her. She does not. Her butt doesn't touch the chair. Her arms don't touch the chair. The back of her shoulders do, or the back of her elbows do. So yeah, that's going to be fun, finding those spots to put a little bit of epoxy on there and kind of hold her in place while she's setting up. And then I still have to attach all of those wires to it, which is kind of a strange thing. Now the wires, they go in at the end here. I've got the electrodes on her head and on her feet, but they don't go anywhere on the other end. The wires just kind of dangle off. They kind of go off stage, as it were. So we're going to see what we're going to do with that when the time comes to put it all together and see where those are going to land. But yeah, we're going to take her out for the moment. I got to do a little bit of cleanup on this chair. I've noticed that I've got some scuffs and whatnots on it. So these lights are all in from yesterday. I will bundle them together, tuck them down through the hole, and this hole here, tuck them down through there so it cleans all that up. Actually, it's just something like that. Push them all down together, and then secure them all to this. There won't be a switch on this. You don't really need a switch. It's just going to be, as soon as you plug it in, it's going to come on, rather than putting a switch on it. And I also have to leave room. I can't really close that off because the lighting power has to go up to the rings as well. So that's kind of where we're at. I've taken the same technologies that I figured out yesterday as far as how to wire these up, carrying it down to these. Now these are cool whites, not the ice blues, so it's going to get a little bit lighter as we go down. Alright, I've got the lights on the bottom riser. All I need to do now is put the chair in place, poke the holes, poke the wiring down through here, glue the chair in place, and join the wiring up with this, and I'll have all of the pedestal lights done. Okay, I got a thing. Here's the thing. I want to seal off these wires. I want to put something over that will cover those up and keep them from getting banged. The problem is I can't do that right now because I still need to get access to this when the lights for the rings come. So what I'm going to do now is just tape this off and use it as a temporary blocking, and then I can go back afterwards and glue a piece in there afterwards and really keep it secure and safe and unaccessible. No user serviceable parts inside here. So for right now, I'm just gonna throw a piece of tape across it. But then I can, once I've got the lights and from the rings in here, I can go in and cover all of these wires with some black, either black tape or black paint or something, just to cover all that up. But when you sit it like that and you put power to it, this is what it looks like. Boom. That's quite nice. That's quite shiny. So now the next thing to do is to mix up a little bit of epoxy, sit her in place and epoxy her down, and then I can put those wires in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the rings in place. They won't be lit, obviously, but I can set them in place, and that will also help me figure out where these wires need to go. Okay, I got some serious shipping a bottle things going on here. I'm certainly glad I started test fitting before I glued anything down. I can't get, this is going to be a trick to get these rings in, much less with Maria in place. You're going to have to set these ones in at least the bottom ones in, before I can even glue them to the bottom of the base here. They're just so tight to the chair that if I put these two guys in, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to squeeze, oh, stand up. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to squeeze them together to fit the rings in. And then I'm probably going to have to fish Maria in and around afterwards. I wonder if the instructions mention any particular order that things are supposed to be built in. Okay, here's what the instructions say. The instructions say that the chair and the base should not be joined. I don't know whether I glued mine, so I'm going to have to check. because what they want you to do is to put one support in and a ring, the smallest ring, and then the other support in and attach it, then put the chair in, then add remaining rings and work your way up. So this is a mess. Let me see. I know I'm going to end up knocking some of these guys off. I've got to be very careful. Now there is no wiring going up into the chair, so the base and everything that's connected to the base is good. But it goes small, big, big, small, which is kind of strange when you think about it. Okay, that has the support goes to the inside, so it goes like that, and then this goes like that. That's how they attach to the base. Now, with the chair in the way, I can't do that, but let me see if I have glued that chair down or not. Good news, I hadn't glued the chair down, which I hadn't really thought of as a problem because it's such a tight fit that I just decided not to glue it down, but I'm glad I didn't now because apparently everything depends on that. So read your instructions, kids. Put this one in and then put the other one on the other side, and then you put the you put your left arm in, you put your left arm out. Okay, I just need to glue these things down. They are doing nothing for me at this point but being in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and glue one of them down, and when the time comes that I get the lighting for the rings, I'm just going to have to add it on top of the rings. I don't know, I can't see a way to get back into this and back out, so I'm not going to glue the chair down in case I really need to get back into it, and I don't think I'm going to glue her to the chair in case I need to get back into it. I think that's going to be the best compromise that I can think of, and when the day comes I need to work on the rings, I will just do that with them in place. Or let's just see, if I go ahead and put this piece in like this. Okay, you're in. Now, you're in forever and always, amen. And a small ring here goes like that. Now, the other side can now go in and attach to both of these at the same time. I'm not going to glue the ring, just going to glue the base or the pole to the base here. Okay, I'll glue that in. Wow, okay, that has to go in like that and around. Okay, that's glued in, and that's attached. There, lovely. Feel better already. Now, the other rings snap into it from there, but at this point it says put the chair in. So the chair is back down. If I don't glue these, no, I may still need to get to that chair. I'm not going to glue the chair down this time. May still need to get into it, so we are simply just going to push it down on top of the platform and be done. Yeah, okay, it's down on the platform. So now it says, grabbing the instructions, now it says Attach one of the ring supports, did that. Small ring to the bottom of socket, did that. Attach the other ring, yeah, okay. Now, attach other rings in this order, 19, 19, 20, which is big, big, small. And then place the assembled machinist mensch on the chair. Through the rings if you have them attached. Okay. So it's ring, ring, who's there. See, ring, pull it. Okay. Oh, this is fun. Try not to break anything there. And another one. Try to keep it clean. And that goes there, and there, and then the smallest one goes on the top. Okay, pull all of those in. And that is the 4 rings. Those are the 4 rings in place. And now see, I knew I'd lose one of those. That came off her foot. That's not so bad. I probably could have put Maria in place after the second ring. Because this is going to be a walking nightmare to try to install wiring on some of these electrodes. Okay, so 4 rings in place. Can we put her down into the chair? Yes, she will go down into the chair. The bottom ring does hit her feet. But like I said, she doesn't really fit in the chair that well anyway. So let's see if I can take the top 2 rings off that I don't need. And get the electrodes attached. Okay, I want to minimize the amount of taking off and putting on, so from this point on we're not going to be gluing so much. What we need to do at this point, let me get situated in my chair. What we need to do is go ahead and start putting the wires on these electrodes, and more importantly, gluing her to the chair in a position that she will be in. Now, the only real spots where she is making contact with the chair is on her back. She's not, her delicate little tush is not touching the bottom of the chair. We're getting some contact here, getting a little bit of contact on the left palm, and of course a little bit on the back side here where it's hitting the chair. That's pretty much, or the back of the chair, that's pretty much the only contact she is making. So we can get away with a little bit of, with a minimum of glue, a minimum of epoxy, just in a few strategic spots that will hold her in place. I'm not going to put any on the bottom of her feet because that's really not, it's not touching so much down there on the feet. So I'm going to put a little bit just on the back of her elbows and on her actual back, a little bit back here. Let's see if I took let me see if I took a piece of paper here and I see where she's touching basically is the tailbone here and the back of the shoulder blades, and that's about all. That's her back of her head doesn't count because she's higher or she's taller than the chair. So if you looked at it like that, you could see the tiny, just the tiny bits on her shoulders and her tailbone where she's touching. And that's actually going to be enough, I think. But once that happens, once that's set, we can go back in and put the electrodes in. Okay, so we're at the last bit here. I've cut the wires. I had some left over, so I think I did okay. It recommends that you cut between 20 and 30 centimeters. Well, here's a 30 centimeter length, here's a 25 centimeter length, and here's a 2750 centimeter length, or 27. So we've got 3 different lengths of wire here. I'll start with the longer ones at the top and work the shorter ones to the bottom. I still don't have an end point for any of these. They're just going to kind of drape off of the model and be their own thing. But the typical one here, let's just say that we're going to plug this one into her head. Probably will fish it down through the inside of these rings. Come on, through the inside of the rings. This is almost reminds me of very thin solder. It's a very bendable wire here. This is not nearly as compliant as you think it might be. Okay, there we go. Now what I'm going to do is just put a little tip of CA on here and then just start plugging them into the holes on the chair and onto Maria, and then we'll kind of comb them all together as we pull it towards the end. Now if I did something like that and then ran it down, then like I say, we can kind of gather them together. I just don't have any, there's no ending place for them. No, I might tuck them back under the chair for the time being, or back under the platform. Alrighty, all of the wires are in. Now they've not cured. It's got some, I put some CA on the end of them, plugged them into the electrodes. I'm giving them, I'm not putting any kicker on them or anything, so I want to give them a good amount of time to cure. It's time for lunch. I can take a break and come back when this is done, because really, outside of putting the last rings back in place for the time being and setting up the 2 other guys, I'm pretty much done. These need to be trained to go inside the rings. A lot of them are just, you know, sitting on the outside, and a lot of them haven't been, like I said, haven't been trained to any particular place yet. So that's next goal. And I'll see if any of them work loose or anything, but it's coming down to the finish line. And here you go, kids, the final, well, not final, final for now, view of the 3 characters, the Friederson, Maria, and Rotwang, attorneys at law. Once I get the lights in for the animating the rings, then I'll do that. But for right now, this is the final. Look at that face. I am just so happy with how Friederson turned out. And Rotwang. And if only I could light those rings today, we'd have something to celebrate. But having the base lit up is just as much fun for me. Let's get a close look at that face. Maybe we'll just go in and zoom in. There you go. And crazy man himself. And of course, Maria. How do you handle a problem like Maria? Maybe I can just do the animate the rings like this by myself. No, they won't quite do that. They're not all singing, all dancing. They're just, like I said, when I get those flexible filaments in, I will add them. And that, my friends, brings us to the end. Well, the end for now, the temporary end, the cessation of building. the pause, shall we say. That brings us to the pause in this until such time as we can complete the lighting of the rings. But I'm sorry, I'm trying to stand in front of that light coming through the window there. But there's your Rotwang right there. Oh, I just realized I wasn't quite finished with Rotwang. I have a little bit of painting to do on the arm that I never touched up. Well, I'll have that, show you that when I show you the lit rings, and we'll have a more complete version of the whole deal. So until next week, y'all be good, be safe, be smart, be good to each other, be good to yourself, and we'll see you here next week.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Back, everybody. It's week 4 on the Maria Metropolis Mini Maxi diorama, and I've been a busy boy over the weekend. It's Monday. It's Eclipse Day. Hope you spent it with the ones you love. If you're seeing this video, if it went up, that means the world didn't end. We didn't all go flying off the flat Earth. It's just a solar eclipse that happens all the time. But I was busy this weekend, and I was practicing for this week, which I expect to be very eventful. So let's get down to the table and show you what I've been up to. No, your eyes are not tricking you. There are 2 Marias and on 2 tables. And the reason I did that is such, Friday, as you'll recall, I was printing the replacement table and also the replacement rings that the revised files that Ricardo had sent, but they didn't quite make it on time for the video. They printed out beautifully Friday night, so I went ahead and started working on them this weekend. I printed out a new set of these rails. You know, people use the word test bed. Something such and such was a test bed for, you know, this technology or this technique. And this is truly a test bed, because having the new one allowed me to go back and take this original one and try out some ideas, which is what a test bed is. It's a place where you try out something before you apply it to the real thing. What this allowed me to do was to go ahead and do certain things like gluing these rails down, and that way I could get the final size adjustment needed for the dome, the outer dome here. I've got this ready to go. This is from the water bottle, and it also helped me think through how I'm going to be handling the lighting. Now that I have shown this on video, I can go ahead and disassemble this and start taking some of these ideas over to that. You'll notice that all of my lights are here from China. Yay! These are the ones that came from Adafruit. These are the ones that came from China. I have 6 sets of these. These go in the rings. These ones go on the table. Now, the other thing I was experimenting with was how to attach these tubes, these flexible filaments, to the plastic rings. There are 4 rings. They each need these things. These are almost impossible to work with. I will tell you, you know the old phrase herding cats or trying to catch a greased pig? These are like herding greased pigs. These are very difficult to work with, and they're silicone and they twist and they don't want to follow the lines that you want to give them. However, they are the perfect lighting for what I want to use. So I thought, well, what can I do? I tried several different methods. Could I use a UV glue to glue them down to the rings? Start, you know, like this, and just do a little bit of UV glue and work my way around. Well, it works, but it's kind of messy. Could I use CA? Well, no, CA is gonna fog up the styrene. Can't use CA. Could I use epoxy? Epoxy takes a little bit longer to set up. It's not quite as instantaneous, so that became a no-go. So okay, what can I do? I back up and think again. Well, what if I encased it in something that would stick? Okay, fair enough idea. So I started thinking of putting these in a clear plastic tube. And clear plastic tube of that size is not hard to find. It's something you have to look up, and my brain went to aquarium tubing, or perhaps fuel lines, automotive fuel lines. I know that something similar is been done on a weed eater that I had. It had a real flexible fuel line that went from the tank to the motor, and it was clear plastic. So I thought, well, maybe that's something like that would be fruitful. So I went to the Lowe's, the Home Depot place, and I went to the pet store to look at aquarium tubing. And I come back with this standard aquarium tubing. Now this is yay big around. That's the smallest that they had. I think it's like 1/8 inch inner diameter. But that's the smallest I could find. And I came home, tested it, said, okay, well, this stuff will fit, but it's awfully big. It's awfully big in there. Is there such a thing as a 1/16 inch inner diameter tube? Yes, there is. So I went to the hardware store and found some of that. This is 1/16 inch hose, or 1/16 inch tubing. And would this work? Well, yeah, and it fits a lot tighter. That's exactly what I'd like. However, two things. It's the wrong color. I'm not wild about the color of it. I'd kind of like to keep it clear. It's got this lettering on it, which I'm sure I could use some sort of either acetone or something else to remove that. I'm not worried about getting that off. But the important thing is, will it glue down to styrene? So I took a piece of styrene. This happens to be from a stand from another model. Same material as the rings, because I don't want to mess those up. And I tried it with the UV glue, because that is the best solution that I could come up with. It's very clear. It's not very messy. And it can, once I put the light on it, it sets instantaneously. It's not doesn't take any time like an epoxy does. But it also doesn't craze up the plastic like CA does. Okay, so yes, this sticks. Both of these will stick. This thinner walled, or the thinner tubing, and the fatter tubing, both will stick. So now that I know I've got tubing that I like and a size that I like, can I get this in this clear color, or the clear no color? Yes, you can. I ordered some from Amazon. I sprung for the overnight shipping. It should be here today. But what that's going to allow me to do is something very much like this, where I can attach a inner ring just to the top side of each of these, and then I can have my light inside it. Now, the last question I have is, which would be better? Can I glue these down and try to fish the light into it? Because what I figure I'd have to do would be to solder a stiff wire to one end, and then basically pull it through. I had to soak these in hot water for a while to get the artificial bend in it, because when it sits on the shelf, like this has a pretty tight coil to it. You got to get that to relax somehow. So putting it in boiling water and letting it let it work itself back out, and it's put it on a straight stretch, will help get that bend out. Plus, when I glue it, that will also take care of a lot of that as well. But here's the point: I can put the light into it and then glue the whole thing around and just leave the edges of the wires dangling out the back, and then attach them to the board that's coming from Ralph. Spoke to Ralph even this morning. Early today he called me, and he has not sent the boards yet. I told him I was waiting on him because I've got everything else almost ready to go. So that lit a fire under him, and I'm sure he will be sending me the boards pretty darn quick. But if I have these just waiting, then that's fine too. And the phone's ringing. And that was, guess who? That was Ralph. Talking about another effect we're adding to the board. Keep that a secret for the time being. But here's the thing. Where was I? I was talking about using this material. I was talking, now this is the orange tubing that I'm not going to use because of the color, but this is the right size. But I wanted to show you the effect of what happens once you run your LED through that. And I need to, of course, I need to solder a resistor on the end of it. See what I'm saying about working with this stuff? Okay, but that's what it looks like inside the tube. So, yay and a happy. But the silicone nature of this does not want to be glued to a lot of things. So taking all of this off, I was going back to saying I can put the light in the tube and then glue it down with the light already in it. That's what I was thinking. It would be easier to do that and fish this through when the tubing is straight than it is trying to fish it through a curve. That's where I was at. So the last bit that I wanted to talk about before I just start disassembling this is the table rings. I am going to have the same four lights here that are on the rings, but they are going to be hidden underneath these outer straps. So we're going to have one here, we're going to have two in the center here and here, and then we'll have one at her feet. So that was why I needed to know where I could go ahead and drill holes and how big this dome needed to be. And now that I've shown that on camera, I can take this off. I can take this off, take this and use this as my guide to cut so that I know these are the right size. And I can transfer, these rings are glued down. She's more or less, these ones are not glued down. This is more or less solid here, but it'll tell me where I can drill my holes for those lights to go through the table. So this, again, a perfect test bed by all definition. Okay, the first lesson that I learned this weekend was that it is going to be very, very handy to have these reinforcing bits put in, just because it gives something for the plastic dome to clip into, and keeps it square and straight the whole way down. That does not come standard. That's not part of this piece as it's designed. No fault in the design, but it's just not there. It's something that, you know, you discover on the fly. So what I need, but I don't need to have the full length of it that I did before. So I'm going to cut some smaller parts, and I'm going to glue them to the side just in a few strategic spots down the length of the rail. And it also helps me to know that every place that you see one of these, which is where the outer ring attaches, every place that has like a little toothy there, let's get you out of the way to make it easier to see. These spots here are where the rings attach. So I need to drill a hole inside of each one of those. That is where the noodle light filament has to go down into the underneath the table. Here's an example of that. There's the hole going into the table, and it's not exactly in that piece, but it's to the other side of it. It's not in It's not in the little raised bit, but it's to the inside of it. Already, the first rail is down. The first rail is down. Yay! We've got this in, and it's nice and secure, and it's going to give me the, this is the old dome, but it's going to give me the place to clip that into. So good. Now the thing is, I need to put the other one in, and then once those are in, I can drill the holes, because this is also giving me support for the hole drilling. And the holes will be drilled here, 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 and here. And that's what's going to accept these smaller. It has to be big enough that I can pass that down through it. And then we'll block it from the others. There's going to be a little bit of overhang because we're a little bit long, but I think I can cover that up with black heat shrink, and that'll take care of it. The thing is, I want to make sure these tracks here are cleaned, because this is where this ring assembly goes. I have to tell you that Ricardo has done a marvelous job at redesigning these rings, because they were all individual before, and now he's joined them into one piece, which not only gives you the better spacing, but also makes it easier and more structural to put in all at once, and you don't have to worry about, is this one a little bit too close to that one, and that kind of stuff. So yay on that. And I'm using that, I painted these with a little bit of brass just to give some color in there. Again, in the movie, it's black and white, but you can tell that it's metallic. So rather than making everything just boring silver, because there's going to be enough silver, just add a little copper, a little brass, a little steampunk to it to spice it up a bit. We need to touch up the silver paint here. I knew that was going to happen, and then we will spray the German gray over top of that. I may just take some of that the really high chrome and touch these bolt heads with the chrome, but I don't think you're going to end up seeing them once the dome is in place. It's not really going to make that much of a difference. Okay, so I'm just take the last of these clamps off. We've got the second rail in, and we can now pin the new dome. This is the old dome. We can glue the new one in. What we need to do at this point, though, is drill the holes for the noodle lighting, the flexible filament lighting. I like saying noodle, so I think I'll probably continue with that. What's going to happen is this is going to sit here just like this, and once Maria is in and the inner rings are in, this will go down on top, and then these short noodle lights will go on top like this, and they will sink into two holes on either side, and then they will be covered up with one of these narrow rings, and the narrow rings will block it from block the visibility from the outside, but you'll still see the light shining through it. So that's going to be a neat effect. But to do that, I've got to glue it first, or I've got to drill the holes first. So now that I know where everything is kind of laying, and the these rails have been strengthened by these supports here, I can now drill my hole here, 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 and I'm going to start with a here, and then the last one will be here. Okay, the holes have been drilled, the dust has stopped flying. Here we can see what we've got with these are where the 4 filaments are going to sit, and then they, like I said, will be covered over with these guys in such a way that I really don't even need to glue these down, which is good, because as I've said before, they don't take to glue very well. But I can cover these over and glue the rings down, and it'll look something like this. To make this real, I just need to get the real dome out here. Of course, I have to do a lot of things before then. I got to get the real Maria in, get her finished painted, and hold these down like that. Now there are more rings than this, but these are the ones that have lights underneath them. So they'll get glued down, and then the lights will shine down on her. Okay, I'm getting ready to clean up here. I'm going to take a little bit of a break so I can watch some of the eclipse footage. Not going to get much more than, I'm guessing, 75-80% here, but I want to go watch some of the stuff on the coverage on TV. So I'm going to take a break from the painting. The lady is in the kitchen. She's got a, not that the women belong in the kitchen now. I'm just saying she's in the kitchen because I put a flat coat over her, and trust me, she was getting cold, so she was happy to have any sort of coat on her. And I've put a semi-gloss or a satin coat over the table. I have touched up the paint on the rails there. I'm going to do one more pass on these rings before I bring the lady in, glue her down, and then glue the rings down. They got this set of rings, and then there is a, oh hush you, there's a set of rings that go over her legs. Now I'm thinking of adding to the legs, because I think there should be more. I think there should be at least one more ring around the leg, so I'm going to add another one just there, kind of guesstimate the spacing, but that's going to be how I'm going to finish that off. I'm expecting in the mail today to get the clear parts for the table that I need to, there's a clear part here that is this guy in clear. That'll go here and get lit up, and this piece here should also be coming in clear, and that goes at the base of the table there and gets lit up. So that's what I'm waiting to happen in the mail. I'm also waiting, expecting to get the tubing. So once the tubing comes, I can solder up links of the noodle lighting and try to maybe set a couple of those today. That would be nice. That was fun, but now it's time to come back to things of a slightly more terrestrial nature. We had mail call. Mail call brought one of the two, but sometimes there's a late mail delivery. I have to check the tracking and see whether it's still on schedule or not. But I did get the clear pieces today, and you see this is the clear. It's still kind of gummy. I wonder if I need to wash that and some more alcohol. It's still I see a little bit of a defect there from a printing sprue. Clean that out. But I'm wondering if I can soak that and get it to clean up. Oh, I see that we have a just a support that needs to be taken care of. Okay, yeah, get rid of that. But that's the clear version of this piece, and that goes up here at the head of the table, and oh hush, and that gets glued on there, and we'll stick a LED up through the bottom of that and let it shine through there, and this goes on the top of it. Actually, it goes like that. And then this goes on the bottom, and then the whole thing sits at the head like that. And then there's another clear bit right down here that also gets lit from the bottom. So something I could do, I could go out and get the Maria from the other room, lay her in place. I've been doing a little bit of sanding and cleaning on this just to get it ready for its last top coat of paint. I am noticing, particularly when you paint metallics, that the build lines do come up through. If there's going to be any build lines visible, they're going to come up through on a metallic paint. So giving this one last little bit of a buffing here. I'll hit it with a primer coat one more time, or a gray coat, and then I'll go over it one last time with the brass, and it will be ready to glue in place. There's Maria on the table now. Most of her nutty bits have been covered up, and like I said, I'm going to add one more ring here to the bottom. I just need to give it a light sandy so that the build line disappears. What I call the wood grain of 3D printing. Just want to clean the bottoms of those off so there's no paint on the glue surface. But that will go right about there. I'll have to hold that up manually while it dries. And this is the old glass, but it should fit over because this is what I used to measure for the new one. So yeah, it's gonna look like that when it's all done. Alrighty, we've made a lot of good progress today, and I'd hate to end the day on a sour note, but get your lemon horns out because I got a sour note. I got the tubing that I had ordered and had them rush me overnight and all of that. One day shipping on Prime and all of it. It's too small, believe it or not. This is the tubing, and it won't even let the it won't even let this in. So no, it's not gonna help us. So I think that means we're going back to the orange tubes. Hate to say it, I don't want to wait another few days while I order something larger. Plus the fact this says it's silicone tubing, and I think that means we're going to have the same problem getting it to stick to the styrene as we would have with the lights, because silicone itself does not like to have glue stuck to it. I think we are back to this, which doesn't hurt me that much. I kind of was getting used to the idea. It's starting to grow on me. So perhaps we'll start on that tomorrow, getting those wired up and getting them attached to the rings. Again, we've got a lot done on Maria. I am ready I'm letting those rings dry. I just put some titanium gold over them. We're going to let those dry. I think before the end of the night, though, we will put a clear coat over those. And then all that's left is to glue this much down to the table and put the cone over, put the tube over top. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, and I did a fun thing. I kind of brought all of the parts out together so that I can see how they're going to relate to each other, and see how this diorama is turning into a headless or three-headed monster that is going to take over everything. These are the parts I've got done as I've gotten done. Now, I have already sent an email to Ricardo, and I have mentioned to him that the table legs in the files need to be about an inch longer, so that raises the table up about an inch. I'm just going to make a little pedestal for here. I'm not going to change it for my build, but it's possible that he may, when he gets his parts set up, he may just increase the length of the table legs. Once I built it and brought the characters out, I realized that she was sitting down a little bit low. The table should be about just a little bit below Rotwang's belt. So an inch is a good round figure for that. And yes, I know this represents a scene that does not exist in the movie because of Fredersen being in the position, but kind of wanted to put him in here anyway. So I'm trying to figure out how to relate the two figures, or how to relate the table to the chair, and still not, eat up an entire room, because you want to, in a perfect world, these were probably set way apart from each other, and Rotwang was in another control room from what it looked like. So it's entirely possible that this is, a condensed version. But I'm thinking that if we have Maria in the table and it's going like this, we put her out front, and it's going to have a lighting effect. And just the symmetry of one of the characters on either side of the table, I think, is going to give me my nice, see it from the front, gives it the nice symmetry and the balance of the display. It does make it very deep, but if I can keep the whole thing under a foot square, maybe we'll be okay. I know I'm cheating the distances here if I end up moving them back a little bit. The nice thing about these wires is they can come and go. If I push it back to like that, that might be about as close as I ever want to get. I should probably just cut a 12-inch square piece of plastic and lay that down as my base to try to see if I can make everything fit in those parameters. But I will tell you that the table's coming along nicely now. Maria is looking a bit that this strap should be doing a better job of covering her than it is. It's too late to slide her up and down because everything has been epoxied in, and we'll put the final clean on this on the tube. But she's a lot less modest than she probably should be. I'm going to use some of the leftover wiring to run from her head to these little gizmos here. I want to try to, I know the wiring, the temptation is to take it straight from the chair to the table, but that is going to then lock these two together. And if I ever need to transport anything, it's going to be a mess. So I think all of these wires need to be contained to other spots on the table, and then maybe going to a junction and then down and out, and have another junction here that makes it look like the wires are connected when they're really not. We'll figure out the wiring probably the last thing we do. So now that this is working, what I'd like to do today is to get the lights into the tubing and get the tubing onto the rings. Okay, so I'm a big believer in using things around the house to make my modeling easier, and one of these things is this plastic cookie jar. Now, yeah, it looks beat up, it looks rough, it hasn't been cleaned in a while, it's got ginger snaps in it. What of it? But what I did yesterday was I took the orange tubing, boiled it for a good 5 minutes. It's high temperature stuff, so I wasn't worried about it, melting or anything. But what I was trying to do was work the factory made bend out of it. It came in a really tight spiral, and I needed to loosen it up to make it easier to work with today. So I boiled it, cut it to the right lengths to start with, boiled it, pulled it out, and then I just basically formed it around said cookie jar. So it looks like this. It's got a gradual bend in it. If I leave it alone like this, it's going to want to return to its natural tight bend. But this will last long enough that I can slip the wiring into it and then put it back around the former until I am ready to attach it to the ring. Now this is the small bottom ring, and I had to cut it. I had to cut it right there, slice it with the old, very clean sonic slicer, because I couldn't get it off the stand otherwise. That's the thing about having the way you build it in place, is that it has to go this way. And this is the trouble when it comes to retrofitting lighting onto a finished kit. If I had planned this correctly and I knew I was going to do this, I would have done it before I even put it on the stand in the first place. So what we've got is, and it's only the bottom one that I had to do that. The second to bottom one you can bend the side stakes in enough to work that around. So what I'm going to do is take one of my strands that I have put a whole bunch of lead wire on. This is the lead wire that's going to go through, and I'll cut the end of it off after it's been done. But you have to have enough lead wire that it comes all the way out the other side before you get to the bulb. See, this is the bulb wiring here. So we're going to push that in a little bit more. Now we can kind of straighten this out and pull from this side to bring that to bring the noodle wire in. And when we have the noodle wire equally spaced inside the ring, I can't really talk while I'm doing this. I've got a limited amount of time, I think. Let's get this off of here. The straighter you make this when you're pulling it through, obviously, the easier it's going to come through. Still haven't quite worked this out yet. Okay, are you ready for a test? Here we go. This is a 9-volt battery with a resistor on it, but there we go. That's nice and bright for me. It doesn't have to be blinding. And like I said, that's a 9-volt with this resistor. I don't know, I could try another resistor to get it a little bit brighter, but I don't know exactly. What I want to do is just get this ready for Ralph's board, and then whatever resistor he's going to recommend, that's the one we're going to use. But that does the trick, my friends. I think that does. Now I just got to glue that down. Use the UV glue to glue it down, and then I'm doing this with the wire so that it sounds like it's coming from my voice. It's not. I want to UV this in place, and then I will repeat this for the other 3 rings. Like I said, this is the only one that had to be cut to fit. So the next step, once this is done, would be to reposition it back on the Maria stand. Okay, this is a 5-volt transformer. Rather than trying to fumble with the battery, this is what it looks like on a 5-volt, and we'll kill this. That's going to be a little bit dimmer than it's going to be because it's going to be a 6-volt. It's going to be a little bit brighter than that. But I think that is the bee's knees. I think that's just what we need. You know what? That works for me. Can't wait to see these things in motion, but that certainly works for me. Now these are the wires that come with the kit, and right now they're more in the way than anything else. They're certainly not functional. So we're going to find out if they are going to have a long life after this or not. I might just do something that takes them back underneath the base there and calls it quits. But that's 1 out of 4. We got 3 more to go. Okay, please pardon the sound of industry in the background, but orders come and orders go. This took a lot of work. This was a very busy day, and I got it down to this. But trust me when I tell you, they look lovely. Now I can try to run power to each one of these, but it's going to be a complicated mess. So bear with me here. This is circuit number 3. Oops, I got it backwards. I had the silly thing in reverse. This is circuit number 3, which is the 3rd one from the top. This is circuit number 2. And I think you can see where all this is going. And there's the 2nd one from the top. This is the 4th one. This will be the one on the bottom. And the magic of Ralph's board is that this will allow these to light in sequence and go back and forth. Now this is the one on the very top. These wires are the more wires you get, the harder they get to wrangle. So there's the one on the top. So all this exhausting work behind me, it's time to do something similar, but not nearly as involved on the table. So let's get the tape, put this to the side and get the table back out. Okay, forgetting all the little accoutrements that go on the table for right now, the only thing I'm concerned with is the let's clean that glass. I might see if I got a better piece of glass to put down there before I get that nice and spick and span. The only three things I need to worry about in here at this moment are the electrodes on her head. And I have a wire left from the original build that I want to use for that. And I don't know exactly where they're going to terminate, but I do know that they need to, one needs to go on her head this way, one needs to go on her head that way, and the other one needs to go on her head from there, and then they'll kind of come off of the table. I don't know if I'm going to attach them to, I probably want to attach them to something that's right here anyway, or attach it to maybe one of these. We'll have to see exactly where they're going to go, but I can't put the glass down until I've got everything else in there looked after. I think everything here is good. Once this is down, I can, once this is down, I can start laying these guys, not the long ones. I can start the short ones. Give me a short one. There. I can start laying these guys down. Okay, we're coming to the end of the day, or the end of the work day. I'm tired. I've been doing a lot today, and I got a lot of this done now. It's gone very, very well, and that's why I've kept going. Normally, if I hit a wall, I'll walk away and rethink, but everything has been going so well that I've just been carrying on, you know, like riding the wave. And I want to show you how these particular rings are going to work. There's one, and let's see, here's the second one. Now we're going to be doing the same thing with this that we do with the chair, in that the lights will sequence back and forth. If I can figure out why. Oh, I must have the wrong, yeah, I had the wrong one. Okay, so many wires are the same color. There you go, that's the second. I just need to make sure that that's up in its right position. I may want to just tack those in place with the tiniest bit of the UV glue, just to keep them from wandering. I'm going to be covering them with these outer rings, so basically you'll have the glow effect coming out the sides and working, you know, down on Maria, but it won't be an outward glow like the rings are. But there's that one, and sorry, turn this around. Here's the next, here's the next one down, and then the last one. Hey everybody, it's Wednesday. Slight madhouse around here. I've been trying to get orders out, and a couple of custom orders out, and I still have to run to the post office to do that. But I was thinking about the base for this, and this is going to be my setup, and I was trying to figure out how well it would fit in a foot square, foot by a foot. And I'm going, well, let me get some rulers out. And I realized, idiot, you have a mat with an inch grid on it. And wouldn't you know, this white grid, this outer white grid, is a foot by a foot. So, stupid. Use the tools you got in front of you. So it turns out that, yes, everything will fit. I mean, it's a bit cramped. I won't kid you. It's a bit cramped, but everything will fit in a foot by foot square. And I think what I'd like to do is see if this is something. If it's a constant size like this, I might be able to find something at a craft store, a Michaels, a AC Moore, a store like that. That is a wooden box that is a foot by a foot, maybe an inch tall. That I think it's worth a trip today. Since I have to run to the post office anyway, I think I will run to the craft store and see whether they might have something like that in stock. And that's going to help tremendously, because if I've got something that I can hide circuit boards under and all of that kind of fun stuff, that makes life a whole lot easier as far as wiring goes. Plus, it also gives me a false horizon to take the extraneous wires that come out of the chair. I can just chase them down the side and stick them in the side of the box, and it gives me a destination for those things. So good. Let me go proceed with that plan, and I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, back from Michael's and lunch, Chinese today. I found a 12-inch by 12-inch art stand. Excuse me. I found a couple of them. Found a couple different. This has got a plastic inside, which will be easier for me to drill holes in. This one is a little bit taller in case I have to fit the tenant control boards. I've been invoiced for them. Ralph has said he has mailed them out. We're on mailbox watch now, waiting for them to show up. But if it will fit in here, if the board will fit in here, then I will just maybe put a false bottom on here and then run my boards up through the bottom of this and cover it with something. So stay tuned for that. Since you saw it last, I spent a good chunk of yesterday on into last night working on the table, working on the details, and having just scads of fun putting all the little details in, and including these. Yes, I know they're purple and they're yellow. That's the idea. I want these wires to show. It's part of the mess of the lab, so that's why I put them in bright colors, and so they'll stand out. But I've got the wires going into the electrodes on her head, and I went ahead and terminated those just here and here because I didn't know if I wanted to bring them off of the table and take them anywhere else. I just didn't think that was necessary at this point. So now we're just kind of waiting for it all to come together. There's a little bit more work I want to do on this. I need to permanently attach these rings and then put the larger rings over top. And then I've got the LEDs in this, and a red LED down here where my finger is, and I've got a blue and green LED in here. Let me grab oh, didn't want that to happen. Yes, he's fine. We'll lay him down. We'll lay both of those down so that they don't get temptation to hurt themselves. But we've got a couple of LEDs in here so that we can. I got a blue and a green. I think that looks really nice. That's going to be at her head. We've got a red LED down there. These will scan back and forth in orange/warm white. We've got blue LEDs under the chair. We've got these, of course, going to be orange up and down. And it's just going to be a disco. But yeah, I think we're to the point where we just need to kind of throw it all together, just map out where my power jacks and everything else is going to be. But yeah, it's coming along quite nicely, I think. Already, I am pretty much done with everything I can do. Not on the base, obviously, but everything I can do without getting the boards from Ralph. Now, the last thing I want to show you is what I've done today, and that is to finally get these last rings in and the covering for the well, so you can see what happens when you see the light going on inside there. The idea is that it wouldn't be bright, but you would see it under the ring like that. It's more indirect. Come on. I think these batteries are on the last leg. But see how it shines? Well, maybe you can't. It shines off to the side, and then you would have it would also do the dance of running up and back and forth and that sort of thing, and then it would, let's see if we can, there you go, see there's the one there, and one last check to make sure they are all working. And there's the front one. So this would go back and forth while this is going up and down. Well, I was so happy that these, and so excited that these worked, that I went ahead straight and posted them to Facebook, but I forgot to put them on video here. A late afternoon delivery of Ralph's boards came in, and I thought I was going to have to wait till tomorrow when the regular mail came and went, and they weren't in it. But like I said, a late afternoon delivery, and when I got back from dinner, I was able to hook everything up. Since I had everything ready to go, with the exception of hooking it up to the board, I could make those last connections. Now everything needs to be cleaned up, neatened up, actually put on the model or on the base. But I will show you this to start with, then we'll go back and do the chair. But that's the table part, and that's just butter. That's just as sweet as can be. And there's an adjustable speed control on it, so if I wanted to slow these down or speed them up, I could. But that's a yay and a happy. And let's put this to the side and bring out the chair and show you that big party piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the overhead lights off so that we can get the full effect of this. But this is, again, without cleaning up all the wiring. And I might want to play with the speed of that a little bit. Make sure something isn't. Oh, I had two wires that were touching. That's why it was looking. I see. This is the part of it not being neatened up. There we go. Now they're doing the proper. Now I can speed that back up. I had two crossed wires. The last thing I have to decide is whether it's worth trying to put the heart light in. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. Yay, it's the last work day of the week. Possibly the last work day on this entire project. It's going to be a full tilt sprint to the end, though, I got to tell you. I just touched up the black paint on the base here. Going to let that dry. I'm getting ready to put the major components together. All of the components are done, more or less. They just need to be combined onto this base. The electronics is the important thing. I need to wire the base up. I need to get the power into it, the switches for the two circuits. I'm going to have one circuit obviously for the chair and another circuit for the table. So I got to get those in place and ready to go. And I put pins this morning. I put pins in the characters' feet so that I could pin them to the base. I want them to have a little bit more support than just sitting, just the amount. I'm going to put epoxy on the bottom of their feet, obviously, to stand them up, but I want to have that added benefit of having a little bit more meat underneath them to attach to. So I got wooden blocks on the underside. That's why you see these clamps. They are gluing up the wooden blocks from the underside that I have drilled holes down into. This is an access hole for the wiring of the blue lights on the chair to go down into the base. These are the two switches. The power is going to come in from the back. It's also going to come up through here. Now, yesterday I printed this wonderful box from 3D Fig Labs. It's going to go here to house the other circuit board and all of the guts for the table. But I also put in a plea to Ricardo to see whether we could find, whether he could design something that looked a little bit more like Rotwang equipment. You know, that looks, I mean, this is a beautiful Art Deco box, which is all we said to begin with. Make it look Art Deco. That's a beautiful Art Deco box, but it's just not as, I don't think, as neat. I think there's an opportunity here to make that a really nice piece of like funky looking lab equipment that we could sit under the table, and we're going to run all the wiring from the table into that, so it should look like it exists there. That's about all we're waiting for. Once this dries, I can, first thing I want to do is get those switches in, but then I want to epoxy the chair down and start wiring the chair into the base. Well, this is terrifying. This is it, we're down to it. I've got to put epoxy all around here and maybe a little dab underneath all of these points where it touches the base. And then we're just going to lay the whole thing down and clamp it, give it a good time to set up, but then we have to turn the whole thing over again to add the wiring underneath. So I've put it off long enough. It's just something that's got to be done. All right. We are this far along. We have the chair. We have it all the electronics to it are neatened up. They're tucked underneath the base. They are happy. They are run by that switch right there. That switch right there. We have jack going into the back, goes to that power. We have another switch right here. I'll go ahead and turn that off because it just goes to these two dead wires up here that are going to attach to the table. I am only really needing the power box that goes here. If I don't get something, it's noon now, if I don't get something pretty darn quick, I'm not going to have time to print it and get it done. I want to have the box sitting here so that the circuit for the other board, let's see, there's no power. Well, let's go ahead and take that out just in case. I don't want to short anything out. In an ideal world, this box would sit here. A box would sit there. That goes under the table. The other circuit board with the table sits inside of here. Then I can put the table down. What's keeping me from doing that at this point is having this appropriate box. So I'm going to take a real quick lunch and then come back and ponder that some more. Okay, I've run out of dilly-dally time. No longer can I dilly-dally today. I was hoping I would get the files from 3D Fig Lab this morning. No fault of theirs. That was a last-minute request. I sprung on them, but they didn't. So I went ahead. This is the box I printed yesterday. It's a very nice, very lovely Art Deco box. It's not exactly what I had hoped for using, but it's still better than anything else I could have come up with, and I thank them mightily for sending me this file. I can find other uses for it. Just looking at it, I can think of a million things I can do with it. But in this case, what I want to do is put this on the base, feed all of my wiring into it, and finish that up. So let me go get the base. Okay, here is the base. Now I need to, these are the wires coming to provide power to it. Need to go ahead and feed those up through here. Oh, hate when I have little frayed wires that I haven't done anything with. But okay, here you go. These go through here. And I have cut holes in it for all of the access wires that I'm going to need. I just want to make sure that I am sitting over top of that. There we go. It was sitting on itself. Okay, so now I can glue that down and then start feeding wires to it from here. The goal is going to be to feed them in from the front and back and then pull the table forward to sit over top of it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's 3:30. I think we're going to get this one done right under the wire. It's a qualified finish. And why do you ask if it's a qualified finish? Well, I'll tell you it's a qualified finish because I have an idea that I don't have enough time on this video to realize. But I will do it before this model is finished. I won't be on the video. I'm thinking I'm taking this to Wonderfest, so I think you'll see it there. But I've come up with an idea that I like as far as how to terminate all of these wires. I did some of them, the ones that face forward, I terminated them into this box. I think I want to build two little side boxes to go here and there, just to act as electrical terminals or places for those spare wires to go here. You can see, don't mind this. This is just holding him upright while the epoxy under his feet cures. See, he's in place, but I need to push him forward as he was sitting on the pins. So that's why that's there. But for all intents, he's done. These guys here, let me clean up some of this mess. Good Lord, you didn't think company was coming over. These guys that came with the original model, there's no place for them to go. And I think I want to build something that goes right in here for them to kind of all terminate in. I was thinking of just having them, like die into the end like that. But that's not as attractive as it could be. So I want to come up with a solution for that, and I just don't have time to do that on this week's video. So we'll do that perhaps over the weekend, and then before I break the bottle of champagne over this one, I will show you what that looked like. Or you can just wait another month, another 50 some odd days to see it at Wonderfest. But let me kill this overhead light so you can get a better idea, and I will move you around. Now there is one thing that is possible to do with Ralph's lighting kit that I did not do on Maria, and that is the breathing heart light. There is, you see this one here? See how that fades in and out real slowly? There's a circuit on the board that allows you to do that. You have these four back and forth, and you have that, and that's what's on that circuit. Well, there's a circuit inside the chair too, or actually underneath the base. And if I had planned for it, if I knew that was going to happen, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago when I started this, 5 weeks ago when I started this, I would have put it under the chest armor to have it shine through the breastplate. I saw a gentleman online who put it on the surface of the chest, and as much as I like that idea, I didn't want to copy that idea. So I wanted to do something that would look like it was underneath the chest plate. So that's why I did not. But that feature exists on the board, so I did use it over here. But this is the completed Metropolis Mini diorama. Thanks again to Ricardo at 3D Fig Labs for the files to do the front table and the light box underneath there. He's a champ in more ways than one. He came through and turned things around really quick. Ralph Tenaglia at the Tenant Controls. I couldn't have done the lighting without you, Ralph. He put up with my stupid questions. A couple conversations over the phone, and Bob's your uncle. He has the boards in the mail. I'm presuming he will now make these boards available to the general public. Also, Ricardo said that yes, all of these files, after I officially sign off on them, he is going to make available to the general public as well. Although I kind of hope he waits until after Wonderfest so that I'm the only one that's got one of these guys. Let's see, who else? Well, there's Steve at Cult TV Man for getting me the kits. X Plus for making the seated Maria figure. I want to say Red Planet for the Rotwang and Friederson figures. Also available at Cult TV Man. And the small LEDs are from Evans Lighting, of course. That's where I get all of my Evans Designs. I get all of my SM LEDs from them. Iwata airbrushes. I mean, you can't. Tamiya paints, Vallejo paints. It's about, the cast of characters is long and wide on this, so it was definitely a group effort, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like it, come to Wonderfest and see it in person. Okay, I wanted to shoot something with a little mood lighting. Turn off all the bulbs in the room and let I put up a nice background, a nice black backdrop. Get all kinds of dramatic with it. I think the lighting really helps. I mean, it helps on the figures. Certainly helps on Maria. And that, dear friends, brings us to the end of this 4-week excursion. 4 weeks? Seems longer. But that brings us to the end of the Metropolis Mini Dio. It's Wonderfest season now, kids. We are smack dab in the last few weeks before Wonderfest, and I got to get my stuff together. I got to get ready. I'll probably spend the time from now to then dusting off entries, cleaning them up, tweaking them, fixing some paint, maybe fixing a glue blob here or there. So I don't know exactly what the content of the videos are going to be between now and then, because I really don't want to, well, I tell you what, I could work on stuff that I've got no intention of taking. That's always good, because that way I am not spoiling it, as it were, by having a bunch of videos right before the event itself. So I'll pull something out of the stash, I'm sure, but it'll be something that I won't be taking to the fest. I've got the Sprueverse challenge to be working on. I could start working on that Big Enterprise D. That's going to be a handful of nightmares, I can already tell. There's some stuff I can do on the D. I want to do some significant brain trust work with some other folks at Wonderfest about that thing before I go too much further. So there's some cleanup stuff and some patching I can do on that. But yeah, the next few weeks are going to be brought to you by the letter B. So until then, and we'll see what happens next week. Oh, the sun came out today. First time today it's come out. So until next week, y'all be safe, be smart, be good to each other, and we'll see you here next week.